Who would go up to a homeless person and instead of giving them food or water or money, they would sit down and they would explain to that person how they should feel secure with the state that they're in, that they should love it, that they should be proud of it. Welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know, my name is Francis. I used to be a Catholic priest and now I am a sinner. No, now I am an openly gay man explaining the story of my crazy life that I've lived in this almost 32 years of my life. My birthday is on the 7th, so thank you for your birthday wishes in advance. But I want to talk about my past and talk about some ideas that I have. So today I would like to talk about empathy. It's a very delicate subject, and it's a subject that I've heard other commentary channels talk about, and they always have this very sarcastic way of going about it, which I understand. But whenever we look at an issue in the world, instead of looking at it specifically from our perspective, it's good to understand where the other person's coming from. Because sometimes, most of the time, it's not as black and white as we think it is. If you're a human being and you are not a narcissist, then when you look at somebody that is suffering, you're going to feel something. People feel depending on the level of their personality and their sensitivity, but you're going to feel something. Unfortunately, most people feel worse about dogs and animals than they do about people, but that's a different subject. But there is this feeling that we all get where we put ourselves in the shoes of the other person and we begin to have some sort of connection with what they're feeling and we feel sorry for them. Some of us stop there. Some of us say, oh, and then move on. Other people actually want to help the person and make a difference. And this is where things get complicated. What goes through your mind when I mention things like trigger warnings, safe spaces, fat acceptance? They are very polarizing topics. And depending on what political lean you come from, you're going to have a guttural reaction. So the people who promote these specific ideas, they're trying to be nice. Their intentions are good. And I'm not denying that their heart is with the person that is suffering. That's a good thing. That means you're human. But how do you help? What is the next step? How do you practice empathy? So we will start with the idea of safe places. So what's the issue? Why create a safe space? The reality is people don't agree all the time. Some people are bullies. That's a fact. But what do these people do that create safe spaces? What is their goal? To protect people from hurt feelings. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing to not want people to be hurt. The focus is not on violence or harassment or anything like that. The focus is on any sort of contradiction to how people think, what their opinions are. So if I go into a classroom and everyone in the classroom has a different opinion from me, then I feel like I'm being attacked. I feel bad. So I run off to this safe space. The administration at the university, at the workplace, they treat these people like they're wounded animals. Just because someone said no or I don't agree with you, they go run off to their safe space, and that's how they deal with the issues that they have in their life. They are learning to run away from their problems. In creating the safe space, you're creating an area that doesn't exist. It's outside of space and time. There is no place in the world that is a safe space. Nowhere. You can have an artificial safe space, but you're always going to have people who contradict you. It's just part of life. The way that maybe these people should be helped is by being given the tools in order to debate, the tools in order to defend their positions, because they're not being trained to even accept the reality of conflict. They're at a disadvantage in the world. Actually, in conflict, sometimes we are able to clearly see, or more clearly see, what we believe. And we're able to assess what we believe and even realize that maybe what we believe isn't the truth. Maybe there's a better interpretation out there. But that only comes with conflict, with debate. But these people end up being personally offended by everything and run to their safe space where they can be artificially coddled by their imaginary parents. Oh no, I'm becoming like the sarcastic YouTubers. Oh well. The second thing I want to talk about, trigger warnings. Some topics, some images bring up past emotions, past trauma, and it can feel like you're going through the trauma again, especially if it's something that you've bottled up within you and you haven't dealt with yet. Some little thing can trigger that emotion. I get it. And those people who promote the idea of trigger warnings want to stop that. They don't want people to feel bad. And I get it. That's a part of empathy. But what they do in order to prevent that feeling, that's the part that I don't understand. The idea of trigger warnings. I'm full of examples. So imagine a child, 10 years old, loses their mother. It happens all the time. So the father or guardian, instead of sitting down with that child and speaking to that child at their age and their level of intelligence, instead of doing that, they try to protect the child from feeling the pain of that moment and reliving it over and over again. So what do? They take away all references to not only the mother, her photos, the name, they don't talk about it, but they even take away anything referring to death, any movies, any articles, anything that refers to death in general. And it's because they don't want the child to feel bad that their mother died. We don't want people to feel bad. But what happens to that child? Protecting the child from feeling human, natural emotions by placing the child within an artificial bubble, one that does not exist in reality. Is that really helping the child? Is it giving the child tools in order to deal with that emotion? They don't want to put somebody into a position where they have to relive trauma because maybe they're not ready. But if all the possible triggers of that trauma to be relived are taken away, how will that person ever know that they're ready? If we're putting someone in a bubble, then they're never going to deal with their issues. Imagine that you're driving and you see a sign that says that there's a traffic light coming up. What is going to be your focus for the next few minutes until you've reached that traffic light? Where's the traffic light? Where's the traffic light? And that's exactly what trigger warnings do. Trigger warning. My thoughts may offend you. You're going to think and try to pick apart everything that I say in order to see, is this offensive? Is this offensive? Is it? And you become obsessed with it. But if it just happens naturally, could that be an actual good circumstance for somebody to work through their issues? Where it's not the focus, warning, this may trigger you. Maybe it's just a natural thing. Today we're going to be talking about losing a parent, like it's just something that happens. The third thing I want to talk about is fat acceptance. So something that is becoming more and more popular as the years go on is this idea that we have to love and be happy with whatever body type we have. Now, I know that I have seen a lot of videos cover this, and they just beat down the supermodels. They put a picture of the supermodel, and then they just make fun in what they say. As with the other two subjects, it's something that we have to dissect. We have to pick apart. We can't just be black and white about it. We can't say it's good, it's bad. In anything, in any movement, there are elements that justify that movement, that people see, they connect with, and they latch onto. When I was younger, I was chubby. I understand. It hurts. People made fun of me for being overweight. And it's not good. And I understand why people would not want people to go through bullying and to look around and see all of these examples of people who have the so-called ideal body. And so they want to create this movement that tells people it's okay to be how you are. Love yourself as you are. People are just blind and they don't want to see how ridiculous it is to tell people that it is perfectly acceptable to be a weight that is unhealthy for the body. I don't want you to feel bad, so I'm going to tell you that you are perfect the way you are. I'm going to create, again, the bubble reality that says being that weight is okay, and actually it's beautiful, and actually it's healthy. That is creating a reality that is not sustainable, and people will smack up against a brick wall eventually in their life and realize that being like that is not healthy. Telling someone, on the other hand, to accept where they are in their process. Nobody is perfect. We're all in this movement to become better people. Every day we should wake up and be better than the day before. If today was worse than yesterday, if I actually went behind, that's okay. It's part of the process and we're just human. I think that that's the attitude that we should have. Love yourself as you are today, but always have your direction. Always have that goal that you're reaching for, and not the unattainable goal, but a real healthy goal. That's what I think the real acceptance should be. I am well aware of the idea of creating a bubble. All the people that I lived with, the whole community of my traditional Catholic community, they all wanted to protect their children from the evils of the world. So they created this artificial environment that had everything under their control. And as long as you were inside that bubble, as long as you played the game, as long as you followed the rules, then things seemed to go smoothly. Of course, outside of that bubble was a reality that was just pressing. And we all know that bubbles pop very easily. And I've seen so many people who, living in that environment, something happens in their life and they realize that everything around them was artificially created to make them feel safe. And this is the main issue in all of these topics. To get rid of the problem, the apparent problem in the moment, seems to be the best option. To remove the cause of an immediate pain or discomfort seems to be the right option. But that is not education. That is not formation. The person who comes out of those types of environments are not going to be whole and complete, and they're not going to be able to understand the real world when they're outside of those bubbles. They will always need those parental figures in their life to take care of them, to provide those areas where they feel safe. They will not be individuals who understand their own limitations because they never had an obstacle in their life. Feel free to like the video, subscribe, comment. I read everything, and check out my other social medias down below. I post every day on Instagram, so hopefully see you there. If you see a homeless person, don't sit down and talk to them about how great their reality is. Give them food, please.